one lifeless mask, one relentless stalker. Halloween flipped horror on its head and carved out a new kind of fear. Without big stars, big money, or even big special effects. But there's a hidden story behind Michael Myers' chilling look that will completely change the way you watch this movie. Ready for the real nightmare? Let's dive into the secrets lurking behind the screams. Number 1, the famous mask was a cheap William Shatner mask. The face of Michael Myers wasn't created in a Hollywood effects shop. It came from a toy store shelf. The crew grabbed a cheap Captain Kirk mask, a Star Trek character played by William Shatner, from Don Post Studios for just $1.98. Once they stripped away the eyebrows, widened the eyes, pulled back the hairline, and painted it white, the familiar face became strange and lifeless. The result was something that no longer looked like a person you'd recognize. It looked blank, cold, and deeply unsettling. That simple choice gave horror one of its most haunting images, proving that terror can come from the most ordinary places. Number 2, producers almost went with a clown mask. The producers almost turned Michael Myers into a full-on nightmare clown, literally. Early on, the effects team picked out a classic Emmett Kelly mask, copying the famous 1950s TV clown with the droopy, sad face and painted-on sorrow. It was a direct nod to the film's opening, where young Michael wears a clown suit while committing his first murder. Producers figured that mask would tie Michael's adult and childhood selves together, but after a makeup test, it looked more goofy than terrifying. They ditched the clown for that eerie, expressionless William Shatner mask, and the faceless shape was born. One mask swap changed the course of horror forever. Number 3, the movie was filmed in just 3 weeks. The entire shoot for Halloween was completed in less than a month. With such a tight schedule, the cast and crew had to move quickly, often filming multiple important scenes in a single day. There's no time for long rehearsals or elaborate setups. Every location was used to its fullest, with the team racing from one spot to another to make sure they covered everything within budget. The pace created a sense of urgency behind the camera that matched the tension unfolding in front of it. Number 4, the budget was only $300,000. When Halloween went into production, the team didn't have the luxury of millions. The entire film was made for around $300,000, a figure that even in the late 1970s was considered tiny for a feature film. Every dollar had to be stretched. That meant minimal sets, a small cast, and a crew working long hours to cover as much ground as possible. Instead of weakening the movie, the limitations gave it a stripped-down edge. The plain suburban streets, the ordinary houses, and the silence in between scenes made the film feel real, almost like it could happen in any neighborhood. By working under financial pressure, the filmmakers ended up shaping a style that made the story far more chilling than an expensive production ever could. Number 5, the famous Steadicam shots were revolutionary and DIY. Those eerily smooth tracking shots that follow Michael Myers through houses and down suburban streets didn't come from expensive Hollywood equipment. Instead, the crew got creative. With no budget for a real Steadicam, they rigged up makeshift camera mounts and even used a wheelchair to glide through hallways. Cinematographer Dean Cundy sometimes crouched and shuffled to get just the right movement, making the shots feel both unsettling and uncomfortably close. This DIY approach gave Halloween a unique, floating perspective, like you were seeing the world through Michael's eyes. The result still feels unnerving today. Sometimes a lack of money delivers a new kind of terror that money can't buy. Number 6, the crew reused fake leaves frequently. Filming in California meant there were no crunchy autumn leaves to scatter across the streets. To create the illusion of fall, the crew brought in bags of artificial leaves painted in shades of orange and brown. After every shot, production assistants would run around gathering them back up, ready to spread them out again for the next scene. This recycling of the same handful of leaves became a daily routine, saving money and keeping the movie on schedule. Watching the film, you'd never know that the same pile of leaves kept reappearing across multiple locations. Number 7, the film was actually shot in sunny California. Although Halloween is set in the quiet suburbs of Illinois, cameras never left California. Most of the filming took place in South Pasadena and Hollywood, far from the Midwest setting written in the script. The warm climate brought its own challenges, since the story needed to look like a chilly October night. Careful camera angles, set dressing, and even the choice of locations helped mask the bright California sun. Despite those hurdles, the final product feels convincingly Midwestern to most viewers. Number 8, the famous breathing sound was all John Carpenter. The iconic heavy breathing that haunts every scene with Michael Myers isn't coming from the actor under the mask. It's John Carpenter himself. Instead of recording Nick Castle's noisy, muffled gasp inside a hot rubber mask, Carpenter stepped into the sound booth with a microphone and created the sinister, rhythmic breathing you now associate with pure evil. Layered over silent shots in dark hallways, sound is what gives Michael his lifeless energy, making him feel both inhuman and terrifyingly close. The result was simple but chilling. Even when you can't see the shape, you hear him. Silent footsteps, and the slow mechanical breath, letting you know he's always close behind. Number 9, the stabbing sound came from a watermelon. Here's a little slasher secret. One of Michael Myers' creepiest stabbing sounds didn't come from special effects gear, but from a plain old watermelon. The crew wanted that perfect, sickening, blade-entering flesh noise, but nothing sounded quite right. So, for the kitchen knife kills, they recorded the sound guy repeatedly plunging a big kitchen knife into a watermelon off-screen. That juicy, squelchy crunch became the audio gold that still makes people squirm in their seats. Next time you watch one of those infamous Halloween stabs, know that it's probably more fruit salad than flesh, proving that sometimes the right scare is just sitting in the grocery aisle. Number 10, the death scenes were mapped out with chalk, literally. Every death scene in Halloween had to be fast, cheap, and shockingly low tech. With no time or money for elaborate effects, the crew would grab a piece of chalk and actually draw an X on the floor to mark the spot where a character had to fall, get stabbed, or drop dead. Actors had to hit those marks perfectly, sometimes after multiple takes. While the effects team rushed in to splatter fake blood or reset props, it was a stripped-down, almost theatrical approach that kept things moving and gave the kills their raw, unscripted feel. Those chalk outlines were literally the only planning most of the iconic murders ever got. Number 11, a real abandoned house was used as the Myers residence. The infamous Myers house wasn't a fancy set or studio build. It was a real rundown house in Pasadena, California. The crew found the place completely abandoned and trashed, perfect for that creepy vibe they needed. To shoot the before scenes, they actually cleaned and repainted just one side of the house, while the rest stayed wrecked for Michael's later return. Most of the film's budget went into fixing up that one room for a perfect shot, then messing it all up again for the horror. Today, that ordinary old house is a full-blown horror landmark, all thanks to some quick DIY magic and a shoestring budget. Number 12, the phone actually called 911. The crew totally forgot to unplug the phone before filming those tense call scenes, and it led to some hilarious chaos. Every time Jamie Lee Curtis picked up the receiver and dialed, she was actually calling out for real, usually to the local police without knowing it. The cops got multiple late-night calls from the set before anyone caught on. It wasn't until officers started showing up, wondering why they were getting so many strange hang-ups, that the crew realized their mistake. That classic Halloween panic is partly fueled by the honest confusion happening off camera, all because someone forgot the most basic step, pulling the plug. Number 13, Michael Myers was played by many men, including a secret face. Michael Myers isn't the work of a single actor, he's a haunting patchwork. 6 different people embodied the shape. Nick Castle wore the mask for most scenes. Crew filled in for stunts. Will Sandin played young Michael, and Tony Moran showed the monster's human face for just seconds during the iconic unmasking. That blend of hands, movements, and the rare glimpse of bare skin created a villain who felt more force of nature than person. A walking nightmare built from many shadows. Number 14, Michael's distinctive walk was inspired by his actor's playful personality. Michael Myers' creepy, robotic walk might seem meticulously planned, but actually came straight from the actor's own offbeat vibe. Nick Castle, who played the shape for most of the film, wasn't a trained stuntman or a horror expert. He was a friend of John Carpenter's who liked goofing around on set. When Castle slipped on the mask, his hunched shoulders and the way he glided across floors made Michael look less like a person and more like a force of nature. Carpenter loved it and kept telling Castle to just be weird. That casual, almost playful movement gave Michael the kind of inhuman presence that's still disturbing to watch. Number 15, some actors didn't even know they were filming a horror movie. Not everyone on set knew they were making a horror classic. In fact, some actors weren't even told they were in a horror movie at all. Director John Carpenter purposely kept certain cast members in the dark, feeding them just enough information to get the rawest reactions possible. PJ Souls, who played Linda, recalled not seeing Michael Myers in costume until the cameras were rolling, so her shock was 100% real. This behind-the-scenes secrecy cranked up the authenticity on screen, making the fear and confusion you see absolutely genuine. Sometimes the best way to build terror is to let your actors get scared for real, with no warning at all. Number 16, Jamie Lee Curtis used a fear meter. On set, they had what the crew jokingly called the fear meter. Since scenes were shot out of order and Jamie Lee Curtis was a first-time movie star, she constantly had to dial her terror up or down before each take. To keep things straight, Carpenter started giving her a fear score before every scene. Something like, okay, this one's a 7 out of 10 for freaked out, or let's take it to full panic at 10. That way Jamie's reactions matched the story's current tone, even if everything was filmed backwards. The fear meter became a running gag on set, but it totally paid off on screen. Number 17, the initial script was too comedic. Early drafts of Halloween didn't have the same chilling tone audiences know today. Some versions leaned more toward humor, with scenes that felt lighter and less focused on suspense. Producer Irwin Yablin's push for changes, steering the script into darker territory. By shifting the mood, the story became sharper and more unsettling, allowing Michael Myers to evolve into the silent force of terror that defined the film. These rewrites were essential, stripping away distractions so that tension and fear could drive the story forward. Without that course correction, Halloween might have ended up closer to a quirky thriller than the genre-defining slasher it's known as today. Number 18, the title was almost Babysitter Murders. Before the film was known as Halloween, it had a very different working title, The Babysitter Murders. The early drafts focused heavily on young women looking after children, which made the name seem fitting. Producer Irwin Yablin suggested changing it to Halloween and centering the story around the holiday itself. That switch instantly gave the film a stronger identity and helped set it apart from other thrillers of the time. By tying the events directly to October 31st, the story gained a cultural anchor that audiences immediately connected with. The simple new title carried more weight, transforming what could have been a small horror release into a seasonal classic that still dominates the holiday decades later. Number 19, the TV version has extra footage. When Halloween made the jump from theaters to television, it needed a longer runtime to fit broadcast slots. To solve this, the crew filmed extra scenes while working on Halloween 2 in 1981. These additions weren't part of the original release, but were spliced into the film for TV airings. They included moments that fleshed out characters and gave audiences a little more context, though they didn't drastically change the story. For fans who grew up watching the movie on television, these scenes became part of their memory of the film, even if they weren't in the original cut. Number 20, Halloween's legendary music was a one-man, 3-day project. The unforgettable Halloween theme? John Carpenter made it himself in less than a week. No big team, no special equipment, just pure necessity. Because there was no budget for a composer, Carpenter put his own musical chops to work, hammering out the chilling melody in only a few days. He used the 5/4 rhythm his dad taught him, layering simple piano with eerie synths to create the film's pulse. The result wasn't polished, but the raw driving sound matched the movie's stripped-down style perfectly. In the end, Carpenter's quick DIY effort became one of the most iconic horror soundtracks ever, haunting audiences long after the credits rolled. Number 21, the original Michael Myers mask has vanished. The original Michael Myers mask is pure lost legend. After Halloween wrapped, no one thought to save the $2 William Shatner mask, splattered with white paint, cut-out eyes, and teased hair, that defined Michael's haunting look. It got tossed aside, forgotten in a box, and vanished before anyone realized it would become horror royalty. For every sequel, the crew scrambled to recreate the look. Nothing ever matched the eerie blank stare of the first. Fans still obsess over where it went. Did someone swipe it? Did it rot in a closet, or was it simply trashed? To this day, the OG mask is the lost holy grail for slasher collectors everywhere. Number 22, a web of psycho connections, family ties, and hidden references. Halloween doesn't just borrow scares from Psycho, it's knitted into the movie's DNA. Jamie Lee Curtis, the teenage star, is the real-life daughter of Psycho's Janet Leigh, the shower scene's most famous victim. Dr. Loomis takes his name from Lee's character's boyfriend in Hitchcock's classic. The film winks at old-school horror while launching a new era, passing the torch, reminding audiences that nobody's ever truly safe, not even Scream Queens or their daughters. Number 23, Halloween contains personal Easter eggs of Hill's hometown, Carpenter's crew, and inside jokes. Michael's killing grounds aren't just random suburbia, they're rooted in the filmmakers' real lives. Haddonfield is Deborah Hill's actual hometown in New Jersey. Many street names in the film pay tribute to Carpenter's past, like Lambkin Lane, named after a street in his childhood neighborhood, and Russellville, a nod to a town near Hill's hometown. Even character names like Sheriff Lee Brackett reference friends and favorite filmmakers. These insider nods scattered across locations, signs, and scripts left personal fingerprints all over Halloween, grounding the nightmare in a place that secretly belonged to the creators. Number 24, The Thing from Another World plays on TV in the film. When Laurie and the kids watched television, the program shown is The Thing from Another World, 1951. This wasn't a random choice. John Carpenter admired the film, and a few years later he directed his own remake, The Thing, 1982. That small background detail in Halloween became a subtle preview of Carpenter's future work. It also ties into the idea of ordinary people facing an unstoppable force, an idea at the heart of both The Thing and Michael Myers' story. Number 25, Michael Myers was inspired by a real-life encounter. Michael Myers didn't come out of nowhere. He's rooted in a moment John Carpenter experienced firsthand. As a young filmmaker, Carpenter visited a mental institution where he was introduced to a boy with a completely blank stare and zero sign of emotion. That cold, empty gaze haunted him so much, when Halloween needed a terrifying villain, he pulled directly from that memory. Michael's silent, mechanical presence on screen is a direct echo of that unsettling real-life encounter. Knowing the shape started as an actual person Carpenter once locked eyes with just makes Michael's icy stare land even harder, way closer to home. And that's it. Now to you, if Michael Myers wore any other mask, would he still carry the same level of terror, or would he just be another forgettable horror movie villain? Drop your thoughts below and don't ghost us just yet. If you think you've heard all the wild horror movie trivia, wait until you see what we uncovered about Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. There are secrets about Elm Street and Camp Crystal Lake that even the most dedicated fans missed. Check out our most recent videos and tune in for our next Classic Movie Rewind.